And let's see. He's with Hillary, all right.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Morning, Matt.
Oh my gosh.
And Ms. Hillary's here, and let me get in Ted's iPhone.
No, I don't think so. Oh, where did I put my glasses? Are upstairs in the bathroom. Baby, could you grab my glasses, please?
Okay, looks like we've got an audio connection with everyone. This is the matter of Hillary versus Hillary. And Mr. Hotchkiss, this is your motion regarding custody, running time, et cetera.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, make sure everybody can hear me okay. Mr. Hillary, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Hotchkiss.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. My client wanted to apologize for being in the vehicle. He's leaving for work, and he's got quite a drive there, so he's just on the move. So no offense to the court for that, but
Hey, since I'm sitting in my dining room, for sitting in his car.
Sure. So yes, this is my motion, Your Honor, and I had attempted to, and I thought that we had a reasonable resolution in this matter. I'll begin with the facts. Essentially, my client has taken a job and has worked at Consumers Energy out past Kalamazoo for some time now. The nature of his work requires him to be away, and he lives on that side of the state. They have one minor child remaining. They did have two sons, but one has aged out and is 19 years of age. The other son is 16 years of age. Currently, that son is enrolled in online schooling. So my client, based on his work schedule, it's difficult for him to drive back and forth from the Kalamazoo area and past Kalamazoo area all the way back to Jackson to exercise in reasonable parenting time. So our request today, based on the change in circumstance of my client's job and the change in circumstance in the educational needs of the minor child, we would request that the parties engage in joint physical and joint legal custody, and that parenting time be on a week-on, week-off basis. That would work best with my client's work schedule. He has a schedule of 4 p.m. till midnight, I believe. The days may vary, but that time is always the same. So a week-on, week-off parenting time would allow for that to happen and be much more efficient than the parties are currently exercising. I don't believe there's going to be a... Oh, did you have a question, Your Honor?
How does that work when we return to live school?
He will not, Your Honor. This is not mandated. He was participating in online schooling anyway. This was before COVID happened. So he's actually an online school enrollee. So he will be in online school even if they were returned. So that is not an issue, I guess, for matters of that purpose. So really the only issue was my client's work schedule being further away, and to help facilitate him being able to see his son on a more frequent basis since he's had a change in job. So I think the week-on, week-off basis would allow him to do that much more efficiently. And he's acquired a home on that side of the state, I believe, in and around Mattawan. And so because of that drive, it's easier for him to do it on a week-on, week-off basis. I don't believe there's going to be a contention today that the parenting time is not, I guess, on a 50-50 or equal basis. It's just not written that way. I believe that it would be easier for the parents to engage in their parenting times on a week-on, week-off basis. Further, the minor child, I believe, is on the autism spectrum. And so for his purposes, I think it's much easier to have a very consistent 1 day per week schedule in which he only has that change as opposed to a more frequent change in days, just to facilitate his schedule, Your Honor. So that would be our position and our. I'm sorry, what did you say, Your
How old
Honor?
is he?
16, Your Honor.
How old? 16. What grade is he in?
What grade is he in? He's a sophomore, junior, sophomore. Online
All
schooling.
right,
I think
I've had Ms. Hillary muted because I was getting a lot of background noise, but I'll let her speak in a moment.
Sure, sure.
All right, and the change circumstance here is your client's change in employment.
Twofold, Your Honor. The change in employment and change in housing. He has purchased a home that is more than adequate for the minor child to reside at and stay overnights at on a week on, week off basis. So the employment and the procurement of proper housing.
All right, so Ms. Hillary, you're gonna have to unmute your device.
I got it. Can you hear me?
I can, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So the request is that I modify the custody parenting time schedule to provide for week on, week off parenting time for each of you. Do you oppose that request?
I do. At this point, I mean, I'm willing to keep it open. Oh, simply because the parenting that he was, back in April 2013, when it was ordered that he have them 3 days a week. I'm sorry, 3 weekends a month, every Wednesday until 8, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And we had joint legal custody, I physical primary custody. And since that date, right out of the gate, he has been anything but consistent with his parenting time. He basically didn't hold it up the whole 7 years. And there was always a reason and always an excuse. The first 3 years it was hard because my work schedule was made around parenting time. So I put my hours in on the weekends when he was supposed to be there, and he basically didn't show up the majority of the time. And it's been that way the whole 7 years. The last 4 years or so, 3-4 years where he's lived, my boys couldn't go there because he didn't have enough room for them to be there. That was a problem. Before that, I mean, it's always been something. And I don't trust that this is in good faith, because the reason that he got this to lower his child support, but that's not what my issue really is at all. The more overnights he gets, the more less he has to pay in child support. And when he holds his end up, I have no problem with that. But we've gone through a hard 7 years with him being absent a lot of the time. No phone calls. If he doesn't show up, he doesn't call. I mean, there'd be months where he didn't go anywhere. And this has been consistently like that the whole 7 years. And I've always been very flexible. As far as parenting time goes, I've always been very accommodating. Whatever he wants him, it's always been at his convenience. I've never raised a stink about it. I've never, I just wanted his time. And
How would you feel, ma'am, about trying it on a trial basis once he's purchased his home and is settled in his home to see how it works?
That's kind of what I was, that's kind of what I was, he did bring it up, and I realized that, when he brought it up, it was after a friend of the court decided to poke their nose into his income a few weeks back. And that's the only reason this came up, and he's got a lawyer. I mean, before, if he would have said, what do you think about this? I probably would have, to see how it worked out. And if I saw some consistency for a month or two, I'd like to see some consistency with what they ordered 7 years ago first before I change it up to convenience him even more, because it's always been at his convenience and our expense. And
So ma'am, I get, if I'm
I just
hearing,
don't want, I mean, as far as consistency goes, as Max, he is on the autistic spectrum, and pardon me. And I've always provided a consistent and stable home environment. We've lived in the same place for 10 years. I mean, I've always been the one taking them back and forth to school. I've, consistent and good routine. And I'm afraid if we change it up and Ted doesn't follow through, I mean, how would that affect him? I don't think that would be easier on him. And I don't even know if he hasn't moved into this house yet. I don't know. I know Matt said something about black mold. Is that a deal breaker? Yes. Can you hear me?
I can. I'm trying to.
Uh-oh.
I'm trying to speak.
Can you hear me? No,
I can hear you fine.
Okay. Oh, you're trying to speak. I'm sorry.
Yes.
My apologies.
Understand. Your concerns include, you believe that Mr. Hillary's motivation is financial as opposed to a genuine
Absolutely.
desire to spend more time with his son, that he's shown inconsistency in the past, but it doesn't sound like you're really opposed to him doing this if he's really going to follow through and do it.
Right.
So
I don't trust it.
Gotcha. I can't order this kind of a change absent a consent of the parties without conducting an evidentiary hearing, taking testimony, and deciding what's in your son's best interest.
Okay.
And it would be a while before I can schedule that.
Okay.
What I would suggest in the interim, while we're waiting, and maybe I'll schedule something 3 months out, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, give it a try. Once you're satisfied.
I'm willing to do that. Absolutely.
Once you're satisfied that Mr. Hillary's home is appropriate and safe, give it a try. See how your son does. See how Mr. Hillary does in following through and holding up his part of the bargain.
I'm down with that. Yeah.
How does your son do with the online? Does he require constant monitoring, or is he
does,
independent?
and you can look and watch him do his work as he's doing it. I sent his father the link a couple of times. I don't think he's ever got on it. He has a success coach. The thing with his online schooling is that he does most of it online, but he does have lab when it's required. And sometimes he does need a tutor, and it's 5 minutes away. And lab is usually 3 times a week for 3 hours a day, which isn't a lot, but Max loves that. Would Ted be willing to drive him? If his success coach said, well, we should probably have Max in lab 3 times a week for a few hours in order to see him through these classes, are you willing to drive here 3 times a week?
If he's doing lab, my suggestion would be on weeks that he has lab, that he stays with you instead of having him drive back and forth.
Right. Okay.
To be flexible with that and give Mr. Hillary a chance to show that he's genuinely interested in building this relationship.
Right. That would be awesome. And to this, I'm sorry. His family,
yeah,
his wife or family, and she has 5 children. And Max hasn't seen them in a couple of years. I don't really understand why he could have been trying to let them build a relationship. That's kind of another reason, or just throw him in there, because he's used to, because I kind of asked Max too, because if he was like, Max, is this what you want to do? He's like, I do. It'd be okay, but he's kind of, I don't know. Well, I don't know. So I don't want to really throw him into something a situation where I don't know where he's going into. He don't know what he's going into. I don't
All
know
right.
if she's still a little nuts, but
Well-
you know,
So Ms. Hillary, here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to schedule this matter in about 3 months for an evidentiary hearing. In the meantime, I'm not ordering this. I'm
Okay.
encouraging you, give it a try.
I
Once you're
absolutely will.
satisfied that he's safe, and I would tell both of you during this test trial period, if there are days where, weeks where in advance that he's going to be having to do labs, it's probably not a good idea to be driving him that distance every
Right.
day back and forth. So be flexible. I think
Right.
especially in his age, a lot of times when parents get to this stage, the custody order goes out the window. Nobody's paying any attention
Right.
to it.
Exactly.
The child
You know?
is driving a lot of it. But if it's necessary for me to do an evidentiary hearing, I certainly will. But in the meantime, I'm just going to encourage you to try it out. Let's see if it works. See if Mr. Hillary holds up his end of the bargain. See how Max adjusts to it.
Okay.
And let's see where we are.
Right.
Okay?
I can agree with that. I was just afraid
All right,
that
let-
everything was going to be set in motion and then I was going to find out after the fact that I left
No,
high and dry. So
I
if I can
understand
see
that.
this for a few months and see the consistency, I'm more than happy to do that. Absolutely.
All right. Matt, no need to submit anything. I will ask Dawn to get you a evidentiary hearing day sometime in March.
No problem. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you
Your
all.
Honor.
Sorry you had to wait so long, folks.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
All right.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Shan, I don't know what all these people are doing in my meeting room. I'm going to invite them in and find out.
Maybe because we have a 10:30?
Well, it doesn't show any lawyers with that, though.
I thought Dawn told you Bill Rapley was going to be on that.
I don't know what she told me. I mean, I got however many cases. Bill Rapley was on a different case. I don't know that she told me anything about him being on this one, but I'll find out.
Yeah, she told me, so I assume she told you.
Yeah, I don't.
Hello?
Good morning.
Evening or morning.
All right. So, Mr. Omer, my understanding is your attorneys have agreed that it's going to be necessary for the court to hold an evidentiary hearing. I can't remember, was Mr. Rapley your attorney or Mr.?
Yes, Mr. Rapley.
All right. Mr. Rapley, I'm assuming you're here on a different matter?
Well, yeah, both matters.
Okay.
On the Omer matter, just Mr. Fabian's in a hearing in front of Judge Wilson. We had originally referred the matter to Michael Kelly as a GAL. He's authored a report.
I've read it.
So we need a hearing in order to get that worked out and before you.
All right, so we'll.
I would say an hour.
All right, I think Dawn's already aware of that and she's finding you a date.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sorry to keep you waiting so long, Mr. Omer, but we're going to give you some special time on my calendar for resolving the issues in your case.
Okay.
Okay, and let's see. Cool versus Cool. Are you on this matter, Mr. Rapley?
Yes, Your Honor. On behalf
Okay,
of Mike
'cause I didn't-
Cool.
All right, and looks like I remember reading this summary yesterday. I'm was feeling a little under the weather today, so I decided to stay home and not spread germs, so I do not have the file in front of me. Which party do you represent, Mr. Rapley?
Michael.
All right, and I believe this is the mother's motion regarding parenting time. Is that correct, ma'am?
Correct.
All right, you're gonna have to refresh my memory. I did read this, but I read a bunch of things yesterday, so tell me why you're seeking modification of the parenting time schedule.
Okay, I'm seeking for equal parenting time because there have been 3 changes since the divorce. One change being my work schedule, another one being Mike's work schedule, and the third, Patrick starting school. So at the time of the divorce, I agreed to 13 overnights because I was seeing Patrick during the day due to my work schedule. And he started kindergarten last year, and that's when I brought up the concern to Patrick or to Michael about making us equal parenting time now that I no longer see him during the day because he's in school. And he said no, so we went to co-parenting about it. We could not come to an agreement. The only reason he refused is because he did not want Patrick to have a strong bond with his stepfather. So now Michael has 2 jobs, one being in Brighton, and there are nights where I call Patrick to say goodnight, and he's on the road as late as 8 or 8:30 at night because of Mike's 2 new jobs. And then with my new job, I no longer see him during the day. And when he started kindergarten last year, we've tried to come to an agreement. We can't. So that's why I'm coming to the courts about it. I'm just asking that Patrick is able to see both parents equal parenting time. The last thing I'm asking for is the tax situation. Right now, Michael has been claiming Patrick every year for taxes because in our divorce decree, there's a mistake and that was left blank. So he has claimed taxes every year. And at the time, I agreed to that because we were not paying the private school tuition at the time of the divorce. And Michael was claiming Patrick for his medical coverage. However, now with the work schedules changing, I pay for Patrick's medical and I'm also paying half of his private school tuition. So I only see it as fair that I'm able to claim him for taxes every other year.
Well, as to that request, ma'am, I can tell you, although it's possible for the parties to agree in a divorce decree or the court to order who gets to do the exemption and what years, if there isn't any agreement, it's according to the IRS code. And I believe the parent who is primarily responsible is the one that gets to claim the exemption. So I don't believe I have authority at this time to order modification of the divorce judgment on this issue. As far as modifying the parenting time schedule, let me hear from Mr. Rapley before I comment on that.
Well, Your Honor, I don't think that there's a change in circumstance justifying the court revisiting the issue and interfering with this young man's life at this point. She apparently claims she wants a few more overnights a month in order to maintain or establish a bond between the minor child and her current husband. There's, it doesn't suggest that the 13 days that she's awarded at this point doesn't allow that, and that's beyond the normal parenting time that allows other children to bond with their parents' significant others. I think her arguments are consistent with what she argued at the front of the court, and the front of the court found that she didn't allege sufficient information to justify the court intervening in this child's life. The child does have stability with the current schedule. There's always changes in a child's life, but then to start changing the parenting time schedule along with everything else going on in a young man's life just is not fair to him. We're asking you to deny the request.
All right. The referee did not make a recommendation. He simply said he defers to the court. I think the mother has alleged sufficient changes based on father working 2 jobs and her no longer able to exercise the significant amount of daytime parenting time that she exercised previously. I think there's sufficient basis for the court to revisit custody. I'm going to order an evidentiary hearing. We will schedule that before me. I'll have Dawn find a date to get you on the calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. So, Mr. and Mrs. Cool, we're done with your case. So I'm just gonna send you on your way.
Will we get something in the mail, sir?
Oh yeah, you'll get a notice.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's see. Morning, Matthew. What are you here on?
Good morning, Judge. We had, I don't think we're gonna actually hear it, but I always make sure I show up to everything. We adjourned a PPO hearing a couple weeks ago. It didn't make the docket, and given that you're not working from the office, the courthouse, I'm sure you haven't been or haven't seen the file or been able to read it. So, but I showed up anyways, just in case.
Are you even on the docket this morning?
No, it didn't make the docket. I think we got, we rescheduled it when everyone was out. And so we got a date, but I don't think it ever made the docket.
What's the name of the case?
It's Ingblom versus Smith.
Okay, well, nobody else showed up on that. I will shoot Dawn.
He consolidated that, Matt.
Oh,
So he consolidated that with the other issues. So
is it on the calendar for a hearing at some point, Shannon?
do you have the PPO number, Matt?
Yep. And Donnie emailed Mike and I this morning, but I hadn't heard back yet. So I just thought I would show up. One sec.
Sorry, I got my phone plugged in. That's why we're all turned around with me.
You ready, Shannon?
Yeah,
18-1629 PP.
yeah, and nothing is set yet. But the last notes indicate that it was agreed to adjourn, and then I remember the other case that judge said he was going to consolidate it.
Oh, probably with the custody case. Because that's kind of the issue.
Yep.
Do I need to appear if you're consolidating it with a custody case, Judge?
Well, I don't remember doing that or why I did it. I would have to see both files to remember. But if there's a violation of a PPO, and I'm going to be hearing testimony supporting the violation, I think you'd have to be there.
Okay, yeah, it looks like there was a show cause filed regarding parenting time. It's an ongoing issue. That
It
will
says
just,
the court will send out a new date at the show cause everybody was here. We'll hear this matter at the same time as the PPO. Court will send out a new date.
So
okay, well,
yes,
I'll just wait to hear.
all right.
I'll wait to
So
hear from Dawn.
hold on, I've got an email from Dawn here. Let me see what that says. Oh, she never got the files. Yeah, this is probably something that fell through the cracks. I'm going to shoot her a quick response here.
I know how that goes. I'm ready for it all to be over.
Yeah. I think there was a parenting time show cause.
That's what it looks like. There's been a lot of action in both files, I think.
All right, I've sent Dawn an email, so we won't need you today, Matthew.
All right, thanks, Judge. Hope you feel better.
Yeah, actually, I'm not feeling all that bad. I'd actually dressed for work, was on my way in, and my headache got worse on the way in. I turned around about 2/3 of the way in and came back home. Now the headache has settled down. I'm not feeling anything else. So I think I'm fine, but better safe than sorry.
Yeah, I've had zero symptoms for the whole time, and I have a feeling once we get back to work, I'll do the same thing. I'll be about halfway there, and